Thank you for being here tonight. For those of you who may not know, my name is Sarah Catalan. I was the Deputy Chief of Staff for Chairman Royce for 16 years. And I brought my family, so thank you for the cheering section. And currently serve as the Chief of Staff for Senator Ling Ling Chang, who's here tonight. And she brought her family, great. And then we have a lot of elected officials tonight, and I apologize for skipping you in the program to not name everybody. But if you will do me a favor and just stand really quickly, we have our city council members from Yorba Linda, Diamond Bar, Chino Hills, County Supervisor Hagman, Senator Chang. If everybody will just stand really quick for a round of applause. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to all of our friends for allowing me to skip the individual naming. And with that, I would like to ask our Air Force Blue Eagles Honor Guard to come and present the colors. And while they're doing that, we will be listening to our national anthem as performed by the 1st Marine Division Brand Brass Quintet. Sorry, if you'll join me in standing. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. Can you give us a round of applause, please, for our Air Force Blue Eagles Honor Guard and our Marine Division Brass Band. Now, one of the little-known facts about Ed, as we all like to call him, is that while he's remained Ed out here, back in Washington, D.C., he's referred to as chairman, or the chairman. And they actually treat him with a great deal of respect, if you can believe it. out here we like to haze him a little bit more, but he actually has a lot of great friends who have said some wonderful things about him, and here to introduce that video is Bill Barabar. So Bill has served as an officer, board member, and advisor to a number of private, public, and private equity businesses. He served in various business, professional, and nonprofit organizations, including hospitals, schools, and various charities. He currently serves as an independent director to the American Funds, public mutual funds managed by the Capital Group, and he is a U.S. Navy veteran and a graduate of Stanford University. Please join me in welcoming Bill.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Richard Nixon Presidential Library. I'm Bill Barabar, president of the Nixon Foundation, and I'm a big fan of Representative Ed Royce. And when I got here today, I understood the term fan in a general sense, but when I arrived here and first looked at the room and saw 400 banners, maybe they should be up in the air right now. What do you think? So on behalf of another group of fans, the family of President and Mrs. Richard Nixon, and our board of directors of the Nixon Foundation, many of whom are here with us this evening, we are so pleased to welcome everyone to the library's replica of the White House East Room. You all are very good and very generous friends and supporters of Representative Ed Royce. Representative Royce, we're all gathered here to pay tribute to you, to thank you for the selfless dedication that you've made to us over the years. You have represented us in Yorba Linda and across the 39th District, and your characteristic effectiveness and expediency. You've represented our nation and championed the ideals of freedom and democracy across the world as chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. And before representing the 39th District, and for a while the 40th District, you served as an accomplished member of the California State Senate. At a time when Congress faced significant disapproval and distrust, the Washington Post, yes, the Washington Post, opined that you attained one of the highest legislative effectiveness scores of the 113th Congress, as they named you one of the top 10 most effective members in Congress. Congratulations. In addition to all those who admire you here, it will be no surprise to you that those featured in this poignant tribute film that we're about to show are also very appreciative of all that you've done for them and your country. So let's ask them to do the talking now.
Let me please say this to my friend, to my mate, my comrade, our brother in arms, who will always be the chairman. How much we at one just wish you well, and just can't thank you enough for all we've done together, for Africa, for America, you know, for leadership.
Ed Royce did a spectacular job of defending America's interests abroad and articulating them at home so he could build popular support for the kind of national security that we need to keep America as the lone superpower in the world, but also as a leader for freedom and democracy and liberty.
The impact that Ed Royce has made, both here in the country, overseas, and his district, those things will live on forever.
Ed has made a difference to millions of people throughout Africa. He's made a difference to his constituents. He's made a difference to every American who cares about our national security and our role in the world.
He's changed people's lives. I mean, he got 400 children out of the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, when they'd been adopted by American families. That meant everything to them. Those were their kids.
Millions of people throughout the world have benefited from the work of Ed Royce, whether it be promoting economic development, the end of war, or better health throughout the world. That's been Ed's mission.
The thing about Ed is, it doesn't matter if he's meeting with a world leader or if he's meeting with the staff assistant. Ed loves being able to do something that makes a difference.
Ed is one of the most genuine, considerate people I've ever met.
I don't know anybody that works harder than Ed Royce. He's kind of a one-person community organizing project. I mean, he's just always on the go. I think the work that Ed's done lives on long after he leaves here, because the work in the Foreign Affairs Committee changes lives, it changes countries, it brings about people having more rights, more freedoms. These are life and death issues around the world. He's smart, he's capable, he's very thoughtful, he's inclusive, he wants people to come together and work with him. He's really caring and committed. He believes strongly in America and is not afraid to speak out. I think Chairman Royce was always out front, working with members of both sides of the aisle.
I think Ed is everything a member of Congress should be. He's hardworking, he's intelligent, he's bipartisan, he's kind, he respects people, even if their views are different than his. We need to get back to that. We need to get back to listening to each other, respecting each other.
To treat people with respect and dignity. You know, he's a steady hand. I'll miss him, and I think a lot of us will. I think his colleagues will miss him.
Character is not a one-time event. It's what you do when people aren't watching you. One of the people on Ed's staff in Sacramento when he was a state senator talked to me one day, and she said, you know, I always will work for Ed because of the things he does every day when people aren't watching. Ed has made a difference which will last beyond his years in Congress. He's also helped a lot of people from various constituencies who really didn't have a voice. Ed has made the world a better place.
Ed Royce, I just want to say on behalf of not just myself, but on behalf of the United States Congress and the American people, thank you so much for your leadership. And we are all deeply grateful to your service to our country.
Thank you. Bless you, Chairman Royce.
I just want to say thank you, Ed. It's a pleasure to be your colleague, but it's an even better pleasure to be a friend.
Ed, your best is yet to come. Don't forget that, because a lot of people are counting on you. Thank you, Ed, for 22 great years.
Thank you, Ed, for believing in me, and on behalf of all your staff for the last 23 years, thank you for believing in us, for encouraging us, for caring about each one of us individually, and for really trying to make our lives special.
Well, thank you, Ed. Thanks for being a good friend. Thanks for being an incredibly effective public servant. You've left this place far better than you found it. But we know that the work you've done will live on long after you've left the Rayburn building.
Thank you, Ed. I love you. I'm very proud of you, and I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you.
Thank you again to our band. If they have not left yet, I did force my family to come tonight. They may have had to run out, but I feel, oh, there they are. If you can give my husband a round of applause for getting my kids dressed and here, I appreciate it. If you've ever met my daughter, you know that is no small accomplishment. So thank you guys. Thank you for being here, Micah, Charlotte, Hector. I've long told Ed Royce that Hector was his best volunteer for the last decade or so. Volunteer. So while you were listening to that wonderful song, you were looking at a photo, which is the official portrait of Chairman Ed Royce. So we unveiled this in Washington, D.C. a few weeks ago, and it will hang in the committee room for the Foreign Affairs Committee. So we wanted to share that with you here tonight in case you were wondering what that photo was. It's my honor to introduce our next guest, Christopher Nixon Cox. He's the grandson of President and Mrs. Richard Nixon, along with his mother, Tricia Nixon Cox. He's a member of the Nixon Foundation board. He is a magna cum laude graduate of Princeton and of New York University School of Law. He was the New York State manager for John McCain's 2008 presidential campaign and ran on his own for Congress in 2010. Chris is the co-founder of an international consulting firm, OC Global Partners, LLC, and when you call or email him, he's as likely to be in Dubai or Shanghai as he is in Chicago or at home in New York. So we're very honored to have a representative of the Nixon family here tonight, and please join me in welcoming Christopher Nixon Cox.
Thank you, Sarah. That was really a wonderful introduction. It is such a privilege to be with all of Representative Ed Royce's friends and admirers, as I consider myself one as well. It's also a pleasure to represent my family in paying tribute to our dear friend. We're here to honor Ed, but let me first tell you how pleased we are to be hosting such an important event at the Richard Nixon Library. As many of you know, the buildings and grounds of the Nixon Library's 9-acre campus are among the jewels of Orange County, and I would say of Southern California and California as well. Over the last 28 years, we've hosted over 4.5 million visitors, including 500,000 students. We're blessed with a state-of-the-art interactive museum experience that engages and educates visitors from America and all across the world as they learn about the fascinating life and times of Richard Nixon. In his recent book, The Nixon Affect, Democratic pollster Doug Schoen, whose clients have included Bill Clinton and Mike Bloomberg, calls Richard Nixon's influence so overarching, this is a quote, so overarching that I have no hesitation in declaring him to be the most important American politician of the post-war era for both parties. That's high praise from a Democrat. In a similar vein, I think that future congressional historians will no doubt count Ed Royce as one of the most important members of Congress of the early 21st century for both parties as well. Ed, you had the chance to meet and spend some time with my grandfather. As Ed tells it, my grandfather returned to Capitol Hill in 1993 at the invitation of his good friend, Senator Dole, and spent hours meeting and speaking with members of the House of Representatives and the Senate. As he was preparing to address the members, my grandfather spotted a freshman congressman named Ed Royce, and strode up to him and said, "Ed Royce, you represent my old district. That's a mighty fine district. Even if the other side cheats, you'll win that district." That hits a little bit too close to home today, I think. But we'll win it back. Ed, within a week of assuming your position as chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee in early January 2013, You honored my family by speaking at an event that commemorated the 100th anniversary of my grandfather's birth in front of that little house just steps away from us today. And I was actually there at that, so I remember this very well. In your speech, you quoted President Nixon as saying, "Let me tell you why foreign policy is important. It's important because foreign policy and domestic policy are like Siamese twins. One cannot survive without the other. It has enormous impact as far as our economy is concerned. I can sum up best what America's role in the world today should be. The world is not going to be saved by any single nation, but America can save herself by her exertions and can, by our example, save the cause of peace and save the cause of freedom in the world." I hope I'm not being presumptuous, Ed, when I say that I think you see things the same way too. You ran your committee knowing that American foreign policy is the great international influencer. The domestic concerns, concerns of all Americans, go hand in hand with consequences on the international stage. It's your understanding of so many of the complexities of our world that make you a superb chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee and make you one of the most important leaders in Congress today. Ed has fought for his constituents in public life for 36 years. Let me highlight some of his accomplishments. The list is long, so bear with me. He authored and championed and ensured passage of the nation's first anti-stalking law while a member of the California State Senate. Versions of this law have been adopted in all 50 states. He wrote and championed the Interstate Stalking and Punishment and Prevention Act, making it a federal crime to pursue a victim across state lines. He was active in passing Amber Alert legislation and has worked to enhance victims' rights. He grew the Congressional Caucus on Indian Americans from 8 members to more than 180, and he served as its chairman. He's been instrumental in strengthening relations between the United States and India, now one of our most important allies in the Far East, especially as we see China's influence grow. He managed legislation on the House floor in 2006 to pass the U.S.-India Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement, a groundbreaking energy policy agreement that has lifted millions of Indians out of poverty. He's been a leader in the fight against terrorism. He chaired the Subcommittee on Terrorism, Non-Proliferation, and Trade, and has for decades worked with different administrations to limit the territorial ambitions of Iran and in supporting policies that oppose the human rights abuses and military buildup of North Korea. He is a champion of the Taiwanese community and secured the unanimous bipartisan support of 424 members of Congress to help Taiwan rejoin the International Civil Aviation Organization. He is a champion of STEM education and has worked hard to boost America's competitiveness by increasing H-1B visas for advanced international students studying STEM and enhancing STEM in local schools. He served as a senior member of the House Financial Services Committee. In 2003, he was one of the founding members of the International Conservation Caucus, making the United States a leader in international habitat and biodiversity protections. Now, I may be a New Yorker, and Ed, there are many friends from New York who are wishing you congratulations tonight as well, Jack Rosen being one of them. But I know that the good people of Southern California are proud of their native son. Ed, you attended Catala High School, only a few miles from us, and you were elected president of the College Republicans while at Cal State Fullerton. The fact that you rose by hard work with an uncanny, natural ability to identify with people and an efficient responsiveness to many of your constituents allowed you to obtain a coveted chairmanship in Congress. That is rare and a true example to the young people everywhere. You are exactly the kind of person who we need in Congress. You are the right leader for the time, and you are a tough act to follow. That is why I'm privileged to present you this evening with the Richard Nixon Foundation's Champion of the American Dream Award. We are proud and pleased to be honoring you tonight as only the second recipient of the award. The first was Ambassador George Arduous, our longtime chairman of the board of directors, former ambassador to Spain, and a treasured friend of President Nixon and my family. Ed and Marie, can you please join me on the stage? inscription. Allow me one more brief moment to read the inscription on the award. The champion of the American Dream Award will be awarded to a visionary who promotes educational betterment, inspires youth, addresses challenges forthrightly, and improves societies and communities according to President Richard Nixon's vision for a better America for every citizen. In his remarks at the opening of the Nixon Library in 1990, President Nixon said, "I believe in the American dream because I have seen it come true in my own life. It's a long way from Yorba Linda to the White House." He wanted every American to have the same opportunity to realize that dream. Ed Royce's life and career have embodied President Nixon's dedication to building a just society in a more peaceful world. Ed Royce has ensured that education and opportunities are available for young people all around the world, and he and Marie have generously donated time and human resources to the betterment of humanity. Ed, on behalf of the Nixon Foundation, it's my pleasure and honor to name you as the recipient of our Champion of the American Dream Award.
Yay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll put it back, and I'm going to introduce your wife first. Yeah.
No, I'm going to shoot on this.
Yeah, let me introduce. And I must do this, my last moment of the night. It's now my pleasure to introduce Ed's better half. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Assistant Secretary of State for Educational and Cultural Affairs, Marie Royce.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you to Christopher Nixon Cox for this prestigious award, the Champion of the American Dream. What a great title. And I'm glad to have the opportunity to honor my husband of 33 years, Ed Royce, and thank each of you for your support of his effort. Thank you. The Foreign Affairs Committee has a distinguished history. Benjamin Franklin was its first chairman when the Committee of Correspondence was created, and the Foreign Affairs Committee is a lineal descendant. So it's really fitting that the reception is in the Nixon Library. As you all know, Representative Nixon ran for Congress in 1946 from this district, which was District 12. Pretty amazing. President Nixon stated that the finest steel has to go through the hottest fire. And Ed's career has really burned bright. It was Ronald Reagan's message of limited government and unlimited freedom, as well as his boundless optimism about America's future, that helped motivate Ed to get involved in the affairs of our nation. Ed first met Ronald Reagan as a student and became a leader in Youth for Reagan. As noted by Christopher Nixon Cox, Ed's civic engagement later led to his service as a California state senator, then to the Financial Services and Foreign Affairs Committees in Congress. And as Christopher Nixon Cox stated, President Nixon said that Ed served on a mighty fine committee. So that's pretty impressive. Now, Ed's laws to protect women from stalking and to stop human trafficking have made a lasting impact. His legislation to support our allies and to stand up to America's enemies came at a very crucial time. His legislation to protect wildlife and abolish the ivory trade in elephant tusks and rhino horn will protect those species from extinction. President Ronald Reagan said something that Ed appreciated. You can change the world if you don't mind who gets the credit. Isn't that good? Ed appreciated the opportunity each of you gave to him to help shape United States foreign policy. The stance he took came from the conviction that you do what is right and good for the country and good for the world. So I want to say at this time, thank you, and I want you to please lift your fan and repeat after me. I am a fan of Ed Royce. Yay. And now let's give Ed a big round of applause.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you all. I remember Marie mentioning me to me once in one of those parades. You know, if it gets hot enough out here, I've noticed even the anarchists will take your fan. But I want to thank all of you. I've got so many friends who have come out tonight, and I deeply, deeply appreciate it. 26 years in the House is an awfully long time, and beyond that, 10 years going back in the State Senate. And so many of you I've known and worked with for so many years. I also just wanted to make a comment about the appropriateness of foreign policy-wise having this event here at the Nixon Library, which is such an asset to our community. But the rest of that conversation that Chris quoted to you, after he talked about the district, he said, you know, I understand, I saw, Ed Royce, that you got on the Foreign Affairs Committee. He said, that is such important work. He said, I'm going to give a speech to the senators. Pat Moynihan has asked me to come over and give a speech to the Senate members when I'm finished here with the House. Could you come over with me? Which I thought was a very kind invitation. And I did have that opportunity to hear President Nixon give his last speech to his colleagues in the Senate as he explained all the foreign policy challenges that he envisioned and opportunities to come. But I did want to say tonight to my many friends here that this time, I think, as far as Marie and I are concerned, especially this past 26 years, we've done everything we could with the time given to us on this, with this opportunity, and especially the last 6 years as chairman of the committee. And I wanted to say also that there were others who really appreciated the enormity of the opportunity I had as chairman, the opportunity to do good. And the team around me, I just wanted to thank Sarah Catalan and Amy Porter and Peter Freeman, who are here tonight. And I wanted to thank my other deputy, Young Kim, and express my deep appreciation. My deep appreciation for them. And I know Allison and Cynthia Alexandria are here as well, and Stephanie and Nara. I thank you all for this effort. It is an amazing staff. And I want to thank all of you who have supported me over these years or worked with me. The city council members, the mayors that are here, the supervisors and others, school board members. This facility for our STEM programs and for our competitions for students in terms of the Congressional App Challenge. We had more students participate than any other district. That was partly my team going out to all of these school districts, but it was also those superintendents and also those school board members that made certain that they availed themselves of that opportunity. My sister Jen and my niece Katie are here tonight, along with one of Katie's two grandfathers, Bill Winberg. Bill Winberg just turned 101 years old. So we thank Bill for being with us. Marie's mother, Barbara, is here, Barbara Porter, along with David Porter and Charlie, and we thank them as well. I've got all of my cousins here that I can find here. And look, there's a lot of them. So, cousins, thank you. Thank you very much. Marie's cousins and mine. But my father's health at 93 years precluded him from being here today. But in terms of the importance of foreign policy, a few thoughts of his and mine might help explain why I devoted so much time through my life to this cause and why I care about U.S. engagement in the world. In high school, Ed Sr. wanted to be a journalist, but the Second World War interrupted that goal and in its place left a memory of how thin the veneer of civilization really is. The photos he took at Dachau while in General Patton's Third Army exposed the evidence of the criminal brutality in that concentration camp. That struggle cost 6 million Jewish lives and cost the lives of 50 million others. And so the question of whether intelligent U.S. engagement and leadership in the world matters has already been answered by what transpired during its absence, during our isolationist history. And so the U.S. must lead the world. Marie shares my appreciation for Ronald Reagan. Clearly, his understanding of communicating our values through Radio Free Europe changed the world for liberated Eastern Europeans. And the steps we take now in confronting radical Islamism before it takes hold across Africa and Central Asia is equally important in protecting against future calamity. I have made sure that we lead and speak with one voice on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And I appreciate my friend Elliot Engel's support in that effort. The Great Enlightenment left us with the greatest of gifts, a free society with upward mobility. And those values gave Marie and me the chance to work our way through state schools. An open economic system allowed us both to succeed before we went into public service. Now, I have seen genocide's aftermath, and I have taken testimony from the survivors. But I have also seen Charles Taylor convicted for crimes against humanity and jailed for life as an example to the next despot that would try to use child soldiers to enforce terror. And I've seen the election of the first female president in Africa in his place. We've empowered women and girls around the world. Marie and Amy have seen my fruitless efforts to bring elections back to Congo. They came to nothing. But they have also seen the release of hundreds of children as we left Kinshasa, hundreds of children back into the arms of their American parents, thanks to our engagement. We have seen legislation passed to stop the trafficking of children, of young girls around the planet. And I thank Sarah Catalan for her effort with that legislation, as well as her anti-trafficking task force, which many served on, as well as the hearings, but also the awareness campaign that she carried out around California, and that's gone nationwide. So thank you, Sarah Catalan. We've seen enactment of reforms that not only support American exports and jobs, but strengthen our security by offering the developing world a rules-based alternative to the predatory practices of authoritarian regimes like China's. Of all of this, I am proud. but proudest of the team and the role played by every one of you, by my friends here, in this quest. So thank you, my friends. It has been a great honor to represent you all of these years. And thank you so much for being with Marie and I tonight.
Thank you again to our band. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much for being here tonight and driving so far to be with us. Looking for one of my staff to assist me. Anyone? Of course, Nara. Thanks. Can you be my Vanna, please, to the basket? A couple of housekeeping things I just want to say. The Nixon Library has been a wonderful host, and everything that I asked for this event, they were like, no, we can do better. No, we can do it bigger. No, let's get the 1st Marine Band to drive up from Camp Pendleton. So I wanted to call up Chris Nordyke and Jim Byron, without whom this event would not have been possible. Both of you together. Sorry you have to share a basket, but we're leaving office, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Round of applause for these guys.
Thank you, Sarah.
Jim. Staff's not used to being in photos.
Yeah, we do photos.
We take the photos.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. I will, totally impromptu and totally ill-prepared. We want to thank you, Chairman Royce, for everything that you've done over the years with us. We've had a lengthy history, and it's just been marvelous. When we were asked actually, no, when we found out that this event was happening, when it got on our radar, we jumped all over it. And Bill came to me, the president and CEO of the Richard Nixon Foundation, and said, I want all the bells and whistles. And I said, all right, cool. So thank you all for coming. We cherish the relationship, and I believe that concludes our ceremony.
I actually have comments.
Okay. Stay out of her way.
Yes, I've been told that before recently. Also, the Nixon Library has donated a number of things. You'll see lapel pins around the tables. Please feel free to take one. They're former President Nixon's signature. And on behalf of the staff, we would ask that you please, pretty please, take at least 7 fans with you when you leave. Right, Steph? Yes. We really appreciate you all being here. I just wanted to say a couple words on behalf of the staff. As Marie has already mentioned, Congressman Royce has taught all of us that there is no limit to what you can accomplish. You've heard it several times. If you don't care who gets the credit, but Ed is really the embodiment of that. I came to him and Amy as a 22-year-old dumb kid who did not deserve or expect the opportunities that I was given. But he definitely has molded and shaped my career. And I've tried to emulate a lot of the principles that he has taught us. He has personally mentored every single one of my staffers and personally taught us all about the importance of service and helping others and fighting for what's right and fighting for people who don't have a voice. Many of you, fighting for the best candidate as well. Many of you in this room, I've called or twisted your arm to get an endorsement. And a lot of people would say to me, why do you care so much? What are you getting out of this? And I was always taken aback. Like, doesn't everyone do this? No, apparently not. But Ed has raised us politically in that sense. And Senator Chang, actually, when I'm going to throw you under the bus, sorry. Don't ever do that with your new boss, but I'm going to do it right now. In 2014, when she ran for the assembly, for the first time, she just kept saying, like, why are you helping so much? And little did she know, when she got Ed Royce's endorsement, she also got a volunteer general consultant and campaign manager because he was intimately involved in every detail of her race, micromanaging her mail pieces and walk programs and everything else. So for those of you who are candidates, you can attest to that as well. But it's just because he cares. He cares so much, and he has taught all of us to care as well. So I just wanted to thank you on behalf of the staff, candidates, friends, supporters. Thank you, Ed. For your 36 years of public service, our country would not be the same without your work. And thank you personally for always looking after the staff and making sure that we're well taken care of. That does conclude our program for tonight, and thank you all so much for coming. Thank you, Ed.